The Newsday continues here on One News Now Business. I'm Jaco Castro. Here are the biggest stories on the economic and corporate fronts. The IMF says the BSP's hawkish stance could bring inflation to target early 2024. The IMF says inflation in the Philippines is unlikely to ease to the BSP's 2 to 4% target range this year. But projections are rosier for 2024 as the IMF sees inflation falling within targets by the first quarter. Still, the group said the Bangko Sentral might need to hike rates some more if further upside risks to prices emerge. So far, the Monetary Board has kept benchmark rates at 6.25% since March, after hiking borrowing costs by 425 basis points since May 2022. Asked if an off-cycle rate hike was still on the table prior its next meeting on November 16, BSP Governor Eli Remolona Jr. said the board is still reviewing the latest data. President Bongbong Marcos urged the public not to cast negative judgment on the Maharlika Fund in light of the suspension of its implementation. Marcos Jr. says he's just looking into how the investment fund could be improved. He also earlier denied that the suspension has anything to do with the concerns of Land Bank and DBP falling short of their capital requirements after funding Maharlika. The president is leaving for Saudi today, where he was supposed to promote the Maharlika Fund at the ASEAN Gulf Cooperation Council Summit.
The concept of the Maharlika Fund as a sovereign fund or an investment fund, the concept remains a good one. And we are still committed to having it operational before the end of the year. So we should not misinterpret what we have done as somehow a judgment on the rightness or wrongness of the Maharlika Fund. On the contrary, we are just finding ways to make it as close to perfect and ideal as possible.
Meanwhile, BSP Governor Eli Remolona told reporters that he was never included in any discussion that led to the decision to suspend the implementation of Maharlika. The BSP is one of the funding sources for Maharlika, together with Land Bank and the Development Bank of the Philippines. Asked on whether the remitted funds will be returned while the MIF is on hold, Remolona said contributions made to the fund will remain. He said, quote, "As far as I know, it is a suspension of the IRR and not a cancellation of the fund." The government is eyeing almost $5.7 billion worth of loans from the World Bank over the next few years. If secured, these loans will be funneled to projects related to digital transformation, disaster risk management, climate management, transportation, and energy, among others. Finance Secretary Ben Jokno has met with World Bank officials on the sidelines of an annual event in Morocco to discuss these programs that are being considered for financing. These loans would double the country's total debt with the World Bank, which currently stands at $5.7 billion over 18 ongoing loan agreements. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. The Indian government has eased its ban on exports of non-basmati white rice, and they gave the Philippines the largest share among selected destination countries. Recall that India, the world's largest exporter of white rice, suspended exports of non-basmati white rice earlier this year due to domestic supply issues. This move put upward pressure on international prices of the rice variety. But now India is again following the export of non-basmati white rice to 7 countries, including the Philippines, which has been given the largest allocation with a quota of 295,000 metric tons. India also allowed exports of the commodity to Nepal, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea, Malaysia, and Seychelles. Still on agriculture, sugar planters have been getting the short end of the stick in the industry as traders scrimp in buying local supplies. To address this, the Sugar Regulatory Administration calls on planters to form block farms. Shaila Francisco with the report.
Barely 1,300 pesos for every month of grueling hard work. That's basically the profit of Jo Marie, one of the thousands of sugar planters who just received their checks at La Carlota, Negros Occidental after putting up their produced sugar for bidding. More than 66,000 pesos of barely 80,000 peso gross sales would go to paying loans he used to produce sugarcane last year. All that would be left as a little over 12,800 pesos for 10 months of work. That's equivalent to a monthly income of 1,200 pesos for a family with 4 kids, and not even enough to buy half a sack of sugar.
Umasa kami na makabawi kami sa ining taon, pero yun lang ang matanggap, walang magawa. Hanap naman ulit ng mautangan para pang Pasko. Lugi ang ang produkto. Tapos mababa ang presyo ng kalamay. Hindi kami makakaraos.
Amid the influx of cheaper imports, traders have been buying locally produced sugar at lower prices. During the last bidding, traders bid 200 pesos lower than the floor price or price set by planters. The Sugar Regulatory Administration admits they cannot intervene in marketing and pricing of sugar. However, what they can do is regulate supply and assist in production. This is why the SRA encourages sugar planters to establish block farms. Small planters can group together and form at least a 30-hectare block farm where the SRA can distribute irrigation systems, machineries, as well as fertilizers faster.
Yung problema doon, if hindi sila organized, ibibigay mo, let's say, to an LGU or to a MDDC or any organization, nag-aagawan po yung farmers sa equipment. Pag 30 hectares sila, nakaschedule yan. 1 hectare per day yung gagawin nila, so 30 days, tapos na sila, sariling traktora. Pero pag yung isang traktora isi-share ng sobrang dami, mag-aagawan sila.
Joselle says her family joined the block farm in Negros Occidental in 2017. She says they have since been earning more than 15,000 pesos a month due to lower production costs with assistance from the SRA.
Kung individual kami ngayon, puro kami utang, wala na yung lupa sa amin. Hindi, nasa iba na. Kasi wala ka naman pagkuhanan ng panggastos mo.
Aside from higher income, block farming can also increase production by up to 10,500 metric tons. A timely solution, as the SRA estimates that severe El Nino could cost up to 277,500 metric tons of production by mid-2024. That's equivalent to a month and a half supply.
Yung sinasabi nila kasing severe El Nino is forecasted at November to January. Meron ka pang sugarcane kasi na growing stage ng November to January na i-harvest mo sana sa March. So yun yung matatamaan, doon tayo magdadrop.
There are currently 10,000 hectares out of the 400,000 hectares of sugarcane farms in the country engaged in block farms. The SRA aims to increase this with the additional budget next year. Shaila Francisco, WR One News.
Social media platform X, formerly Twitter, begins charging new users in the Philippines and New Zealand a small fee to use basic features. In its not a bot subscription, new users who sign up via web browsers are required to pay an annual fee of 42 pesos and 51 centavos. The fee allows new users to post, interact with other users, and bookmark posts. Users who do not pay may still access the site but are restricted to reading and browsing. The subscription plan is so far limited to new users created using a web browser. Existing members will not be affected by the new scheme. The social media platform explains that a subscription would boost efforts to reduce spam and bot activity on the site. X also says new accounts created using its web version in the two countries will be first required to verify their phone numbers. And those are the top business stories of the hour. I'm Diego Castro. Join us again at 2 p.m. We are One News, all sides, all the time.